Welcome to Jackie's Craft Table. Hi everyone, Jackie here. I'm using a second-generation stamping technique today to add a little more depth and interest to a stamp set I'll be using from My Favorite Things. I'm stamping my image onto a piece of scrap paper and then I stamp it onto my card base. It leaves behind a lighter image which I'm going to color over with my pencils. I've created masks for my flowers so I can stamp them slightly overlapping. I've just used a bit of micropore tape to keep my images in place. This is a Neenah Solar White cardstock and I've cut it down to 5.5 by 4.25. Once all my masks are in place, I can stamp the leaves and the stems to these poppies. For the stems and leaves, I didn't need to do a second generation stamping because my ink is a very pale green. It's called Electric Lime and it's a dye ink from Ranger. I use this one a lot. The poppy stems are so thin they look like they shouldn't be able to support the bloom, but I think that's part of the charm. These are such cute flowers. I don't have poppies growing in my garden, but I was able to find a lot of images on the internet of poppies. The leaves don't appear to grow very close to the bloom. Now I can take off the masks and start coloring them in. I'm coloring them in one petal at a time, and I'm starting with my lightest color, yellow ochre, for the highlights. Then I put down my second color, the medium color. It's called Poppy Red. Then I go in with my Scarlet Lake and my Sepia for the darkest parts of the flower. While I was creating this card, I was thinking a lot about the movie The Wizard of Oz and those beautiful fields of poppies that was in that show. These poppy stamps would be beautiful just stamping them out with ink. However, I wanted to capture more magic and depth for this card. And of course it's fun just pulling out your colored pencils and coloring for a while. I just go back and forth on each petal with the 4 colors I mentioned until I get it to look like I want it to. On the centers of these poppies, I used my sepia pencil again for the darkest color, and then for the yellow, I used my yellow-orange pencil. This stamp set left little circles where the dark stamen should go, and so I'm coloring in little circles here, and then for the very center I'm doing the yellow-orange, and then I kind of blend them into each other at the end. It took me about 30 minutes to color in these flowers for this card. I have a list of the colored pencils that I used on my blog, as well as the stamp sets and supplies that I used to create this card. To finish off the bloom, I used my Scarlet Lake and Sepia pencils to add some lines on the petals to give it the crumpled appearance that poppies have. For the last bloom, I'm starting on the center, and I'm putting in my yellow-orange and then going in with the sepia and making little circles around it. Now I'm going to add some color to the stems. I'm using apple green and grass green to give them some depth. When I added my sentiment to this card, I had wished that I didn't color in the stems so dark. Next time I create a card like this, I'll know better. There was a cute block of text that went with this stamp set all about poppies. I'm inking that up with my unicorn pigment ink from Hero Arts. This will add a nice pattern to the background of my card. This cardstock is from My Favorite Things and it's called Poppies, so I'm very matchy-matchy with this card. I'm die cutting a hole with a faux stitched border where the poppies are going to go. I'm going to fussy cut the tallest poppy out so that it will overlap onto my background paper, and I'm just marking here where I need to start cutting. I'm leaving a little bit of a white border around the flower so that it stands out against the orange background. I'm trimming down the rest of the white paper here so that it can hide behind my background paper. But before I glue it on, I'm going to be doing some background shading with 2 pencils, my light yellow-green and light cerulean blue. I'm going to smooth them out with some mineral spirits here, and I'm just being careful not to touch the poppies or else it'll bleed into my background. It's really fun working with mineral spirits. It seems to deepen the color a little bit and push it around. This is how it's going to look when I attach it, but before I do, I need to add my sentiment. I've pulled out my mini Misty here and some Versamark ink so I can place the sentiment exactly where I want it to go. I have some red embossing powder that I'm going to be using. I ended up doing this process twice because I always forget my anti-static powder, but I was able to brush it off and then re-ink it and then put the powder on it again. I even have it sitting out on my desk, and for some reason I always manage to forget it. I'm making my card base out of my Nina Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and it's going to be a side-folding card. It's the standard 5.5 by 4.25. I'm using my Tombow tape runner to stick the two pieces of the card together. I'm going to apply some multimedia matte glue under the tallest flower just so that stays down smoothly. Now I can add my panel to my card base. For a last little touch of sparkle and magic, I'm pulling out my Wink of Stella. This product is very fun to use. It adds a lot of pretty sparkle to your card. I'm using my 1/2-inch corner chompers to soften the edges of this card. There are so many fun tools in card crafting. Here's my completed card. I hope you like it. Please give me a thumbs up if you do. Please subscribe if you'd like to receive an email when I create my next card. Thanks for watching. Bye.